You are watching the South African Morning. A very good morning to you if you're just joining us to this now. The extraordinary stories of people living with life-threatening diseases. Always relevant, but more so in this time of a global pandemic. Nozibele Mayaba has written a book about her experience living with HIV after she was diagnosed back in 2013. The book, titled I Am Still Me, talks about her difficulties with depression and suicidal thoughts after finding out her status. Nozibele joins me now. A very good morning to you. I love the title. I have to say, I Am Still Me. It speaks to authenticity and a true self. Is that what the core of the book is about?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are things in our lives, challenges that we come across with in the path of life that threaten to just shake our entire existence and make us believe that we'll never be the same again. And so it was a reassurance for myself that, despite, the HIV diagnosis, despite what you've been through, you are still you.
Nozibele, you are South African International Youth Committee Ambassador. You are a member of the International Youth Forum. What do you want the youth in particular to take from your story?
First of all, things happen, and I think it goes back to the title of the book, that I am still me, that reassurance that despite of what happens, you will always be yourself, and you always stay true to yourself. But most importantly, when it comes to such a topic, I'm very passionate about it because there tends to be a lot of ignorance when it comes to such issues. We tend to make a lot of mistakes because, no, it will never happen to me. So it's just a consciousness and an awareness that, let us be woke. It only takes one mistake to find myself in the situation that I was in a couple of years ago. So it was just more about awareness and just not only about HIV, but different issues that, I've had to deal with growing up, being raised by a single mother, being the first one to graduate in my family, and what kind of responsibility that comes with, we talk about black tax, the psychosocial part of it, the psychological part of it. So there are so many things that, I want young people to take out of it.
One of the topics covered in your book is a very important one, Nozibele. You talk about your experiences with depression and, entertaining those suicidal thoughts. How did you pull yourself out of that?
Oh, gosh, it took me about 3 years. Firstly, let me start here. I had to deal with depression alone because I didn't tell my family that I was HIV positive or about my HIV diagnosis up until, I'll say, last year. So I've been living with the diagnosis or the news by myself for almost 7 years. So having to deal with that alone took a while, but through the help of my doctors, seeing a therapist, a psychologist, really dealing with the issue at hand in terms of I was in denial about the whole situation. I was not acceptance of it. I was blaming other people. So taking ownership and responsibility of the fact that, I basically handed over my life over to someone else. And that was a hard thing to do. Telling yourself that, listen, this was unfortunate, but at the end of the day, you also need to take responsibility for your part. I think that was the one thing that really delayed my healing because I didn't want to accept that. So up until a certain point where I needed to forgive myself, I needed to accept what happened, it was the beginning of my healing.
Nozibele, listen, you are a very busy girl. You've also got a YouTube channel. In fact, it is in the top 15 HIV YouTube channels. Talk to me about your YouTube channel and what I can find if I go visit it.
Listen, I cover different topics, so when I started, understanding that, everything happens for a reason. This was unfortunate, but I strongly believe that everything happens for a reason. What good can I take out of this? And one of the things that I was really from the beginning, when I said, okay, if all things were perfect, if everyone, particularly my family accepted my HIV status, I would like to use my family, my status to educate others. But it took me a while. But when I eventually got there, I said to myself, how about, really opening up a YouTube channel, talking about my journey living with HIV, covering different topics, because, years later, we've been talking about HIV, but still there's stigma around it. People feel that they're victimized because of their HIV status. So I talk about different things that people don't really want to talk about. I talk about taking ARVs. I talk about having children, because even till this day in 2020, there are people that actually do not understand, that you can have children despite of your HIV status. I talk about particularly my husband, us together as an HIV status mixed couple, him being HIV negative, me being HIV positive. A lot of people are like, how do you make that work? And so I cover so many different topics that I think everyone relate to.
All right, Nozibele, I'm going to have to leave it there, although I could listen to you speak all day. All the best with everything. Her book, I Am Still Me, is out. Go out and get it and get inspired.
Listen, the title of the book is I'm Still Me, but I think she's found a better version of herself, because she did say she was in depression for a couple of years. And just listening to her speak now, I'm just like, can we be BFFs? Can I be a friend? Yeah, and so the outlook on life being so positive, and we need such examples and representatives in our society, because there's still a lot of stigma associated with HIV. But you know what?